I never imagined the end of my marriage would begin in a crowded parking lot. I stood outside a luxury hotel, shifting slightly in place. Cars pulled in, doors opened, people stepped out like they belonged to a different world. Expensive suits, confident smiles, laughter that didn't feel forced. And then there was me. I looked down at my shirt. Clean, simple, not impressive, not enough. I checked my phone, no messages. She said she'd be out by now, I muttered. I glanced toward the hotel entrance again, and then she walked out. Clara Evans, my wife. For a second, everything else faded, because she looked different, elegant, sharp, untouchable, like she had stepped into a life I didn't recognize. She laughed at something one of her coworkers said, light, effortless, not the kind of laugh I heard at home. I took a step forward. Clara, she didn't stop immediately, but she heard me. I saw it in the slight pause. Then she turned. Our eyes met. For a second. Just 1 second. I thought she'd smile. Thought she'd walk over. Thought she'd say my name the way she used to. Instead, her expression changed. Not confusion, not surprise. Distance. Cold, careful distance. Excuse me, she said politely. Polite, like I was a stranger blocking her way. I blinked. Clara, it's me. She tilted her head slightly, like she was trying to place me or pretending to. I think you're mistaken, she said. My chest tightened. Mistaken? Her co-workers slowed down behind her, watching, curious. One of them whispered, "Who is he?" Clara didn't even look at me again. I don't know, she said. 3 words, calm, effortless. Final. I felt something in my chest drop. Hard. Clara, I said again, quieter this time. She stepped around me, not touching, not stopping, just passing by, like I wasn't there, like I didn't exist. Her heels clicked against the pavement, sharp, precise, each step pulling her further away. Her co-workers followed, but not before glancing back at me. Some confused, some amused. One of them chuckled under his breath. That was weird. I stood there, frozen, trying to understand what just happened. Clara! I called out, this time louder. She didn't stop, didn't turn, didn't react, nothing. One of her co-workers looked back again. You know him? He asked her. She shook her head slightly. No. No, that was it. No explanation, no hesitation, just no. The group kept walking, their voices fading, like their laughter returning, like nothing had happened, like I had never been part of her world. I stood there alone, in the same place, but everything felt different, quieter, heavier. I looked down at my hands, still empty, still waiting. I let out a small, disbelieving laugh. What just happened? I whispered. No answer. Of course. I took a step back. Then another. My mind kept replaying it, her eyes, her voice. I don't know. How easily she said it, how naturally it came out. Like she had already decided, like this wasn't new, like this was something she had been preparing for. I clenched my jaw. This is a joke, I said under my breath. It has to be. I pulled out my phone, dialed her number. It rang. Once, twice, then voicemail. I hung up, tried again, same result. I stared at the screen. She's ignoring me, I said quietly. But it wasn't just that, it was worse. She wasn't ignoring me, she was erasing me. Right in front of everyone. I looked toward the direction she had walked. She was gone now, completely. Like she had never been there, like I had imagined it, but I didn't. I knew what I saw, I knew what I heard. And the worst part? It wasn't anger I felt. Not yet. It was confusion, disbelief, a quiet, creeping realization that something was wrong. Very wrong. I walked to my car slowly, each step heavier than the last. I opened the door, sat inside, closed it. The silence hit instantly. I leaned back in the seat, staring at nothing. Why? I asked out loud. No answer, just the sound of my own breathing. I ran a hand through my hair. This doesn't make sense. We were fine, weren't we? Once no fights, no arguments, no signs, at least none I noticed. I thought back. The late nights, the missed calls, the way she started dressing differently, talking differently. Acting like she was somewhere else, even when she was with me. I ignored it, told myself it was work, stress, change. But now Now it all felt like something else, something I didn't want to name. I closed my eyes, and for a moment, I saw her again, standing there, looking at me like I was nothing, like I was no one. I don't know. Those words echoed in my head, over and over, until they stopped feeling like a lie and started feeling like the truth. Not because she didn't recognize me, but because she didn't want to. I opened my eyes slowly and stared at the empty parking lot. People came and went. Cars moved. Life continued. But for me, something had shifted. Something had broken, and I couldn't fix it. Not yet. Not like this. I took a deep breath, then another, trying to steady myself. "This isn't over," I said quietly. Not with anger, not with confidence, just something. Because no matter what she said, no matter what she did, I knew one thing. You don't forget someone overnight. You don't erase a marriage in a single moment. At least, not without a reason, and whatever that reason was, I was going to find it. Even if it meant facing something I wasn't ready for. Because the truth was already there, hidden behind that one sentence. I don't know. And somehow, that hurt more than anything else she could have said. I didn't leave immediately. I stayed. I watched. From across the parking lot, half hidden behind a row of expensive cars, I kept my eyes on her like I was trying to understand something that no longer made sense. She laughed. Not the soft laugh she used to have with me. This one was louder, sharper, more confident, like she belonged exactly where she was. "Did you see the way he looked at you?" one of her coworkers said. Clara smiled. "Please," she replied, "he looks at everyone like that." "That's because you're the most impressive one here," another voice added. She tilted her head slightly. "I don't try to be," she said, but her tone didn't deny it. I felt something tighten in my chest. I had never heard her speak like that before. Not to me, not about herself. I leaned against the cold metal of a car, trying to stay grounded. "This is just work," I whispered to myself. "It doesn't mean anything." But it did. I could feel it. The distance, the difference, the version of her standing there wasn't the same woman I came home to every day, or maybe she was, and I had just never seen it. One of the men beside her laughed. "We should all head inside," he said. "Drinks are on me tonight." Clara nodded. "Sounds good." They started walking toward the entrance. Then someone asked, "Hey, Clara, are you coming alone?" For a second, my breath caught. I waited for her to say my name, waited for her to mention me, waited for anything. She didn't hesitate. "Yeah," she said simply. That one word hit harder than everything else. Yeah, like it was obvious, like there was no one else to mention. I closed my eyes briefly. "Okay," I whispered to myself. "Okay." But nothing about it felt okay. They disappeared into the hotel, their laughter fading behind the glass doors. And I stayed there, still, silent, like I didn't know where else to go. Minutes passed, or maybe longer. I wasn't sure. Time felt strange when your mind kept replaying the same moment over and over again. I don't know. Her voice, calm, effortless, like I had never existed. I ran a hand through my hair and let out a slow breath. "Maybe I'm overthinking," I said quietly. Maybe she just didn't want to explain. But even as I said it, I didn't believe it, because explanations never used to be a problem. Not for us, not before. I pushed myself off the car and walked slowly toward the entrance. Each step felt heavier than it should have. Like I was walking into a place where I didn't belong. Inside, everything was bright. Music, voices, movement, people in expensive suits and dresses, holding drinks and smiling like life was simple. I scanned the room. It didn't take long to find her. Clara stood near the center, surrounded by people, confident, relaxed, perfectly at ease, like this was her world, not mine. I stayed near the edge, watching, again, always watching. "You're quiet tonight," a man said to her. She smiled. "Just tired," she replied. "Or just bored," another teased. She laughed. Maybe a little of both. I frowned slightly. Bored? Was that what she felt when she was with me too? The thought settled in my mind, uncomfortable and persistent. I stepped closer, just enough to hear more clearly. "You should come with us this weekend," someone said. "We're heading out of the city." Clara raised an eyebrow. "Where?" "Private resort. No work, just fun." She hesitated for a second, then she smiled again. That sounds nice. My chest tightened. We hadn't gone anywhere together in months. Every time I suggested it, she was too busy, too tired, too focused on work. But now, she had time, just not for me. I looked down at my hands. Say something, I told myself. Go to her, talk to her. But I didn't move, because I already knew how it would feel. Like earlier, like I didn't belong, like I was interrupting something I wasn't part of. So I stayed where I was, watching from the outside, exactly where I had been all night. After a while, I couldn't take it anymore. I turned and walked out. The air outside felt colder now, quieter, real. I stood there for a moment, staring at nothing. Then I let out a long breath. What am I doing? I muttered. I didn't have an answer, so I went home. The apartment felt the same, but also different, too quiet, too empty. I sat on the couch and stared at the wall. Hours passed, at least it felt that way. Then I heard the door unlock. Clara walked in, kicking off her heels. You're home? She said, surprised. I didn't respond. She glanced at me briefly, then walked into the kitchen. Why didn't you pick me up? She asked casually. Like everything was normal, like nothing had happened. I looked at her. Really looked at her, trying to find the person I thought I knew. Traffic was bad, she added, pouring herself a glass of water. I stayed silent. She frowned slightly. Are you okay? I opened my mouth, then closed it, because there were too many things to say, too many questions, too many doubts, and for the first time, I didn't know where to start, so I didn't. I just looked at her, and for the first time, I said nothing. Silence became our language. Not the comfortable kind, not the quiet that comes with understanding. This one was different, heavy, cold, unspoken. We lived together, but it felt like we were miles apart. She would sit across from me at the table, scrolling through her phone. I would sit there too, staring at my plate, pretending to eat. You're quiet, she said one evening. I didn't look up. So are you, I replied. That's not the same, she said. I let out a small breath. Isn't it? She frowned. You've been acting strange. Strange. The word almost made me laugh. Strange was standing in a parking lot while your wife pretended not to know you. Strange was hearing her say, I don't know, like your entire existence meant nothing. But I didn't say any of that. Instead, I looked at her. I'm just matching your energy. She blinked. What does that mean? It means I'm acting the way you've been acting. I haven't done anything, she said quickly. I tilted my head slightly. Exactly. She stared at me, confusion mixing with irritation. You're overthinking again. I shook my head. No, I said quietly. I'm noticing. She looked away first. That told me everything. We went back to silence. Again, days passed like that. Short conversations, long pauses, unfinished sentences. Are you coming home late again? I asked one morning. She grabbed her bag. I have work. You always have work. She stopped for a second, then sighed. That's how jobs work. I nodded slowly. Right. She hesitated. Why are you doing this? Doing what? This attitude. I looked at her carefully. You mean not pretending everything is fine? Her lips pressed together. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. She shook her head. I don't understand what changed. I almost said it. I almost told her everything. About that night, about the parking lot, about the moment she erased me like I was nothing, but I didn't. Because something inside me had already shifted. You wouldn't, I said instead. She stared at me like she was waiting for more. I didn't give it to her. She left. The door closed behind her with a soft click, and just like that. The apartment felt empty again. Even when she was there, it felt empty. That was the part I couldn't ignore anymore. I leaned back against the wall and closed my eyes. I don't know. Her voice echoed again. Over and over. 3 words. That's all it took. 5 years of marriage. Reduced to 3 words. That night, she came home late again. I was sitting on the couch when she walked in. You're still awake? She asked. I live here, I replied. She frowned slightly. Why are you being like this? I looked at her. Like what? Cold. I let out a quiet breath. Funny. What's funny? That's exactly how you felt that night. She froze. What night? I held her gaze. The parking lot. Silence. Real silence this time. The kind that doesn't let you escape. Her expression shifted, just slightly, but I saw it. Recognition. You saw that? She asked quietly. Yes. She looked away. It wasn't what you think. I almost smiled. Those words again. She looked back at me. I just didn't want to explain things in front of my coworkers. So you erased me instead? That's not what I did. It is, I said calmly. You said you didn't know me. Her voice tightened. I was under pressure. From what? The truth? She didn't answer. I stood up slowly. Do you know what that felt like? I asked. She stayed silent. Standing there while my wife pretended I didn't exist? I didn't mean it like that, but you said it anyway. Her eyes softened slightly. I didn't think it would affect you this much. That sentence, that one sentence, hit harder than everything else. I let out a quiet laugh. Of course you didn't. She frowned. What is that supposed to mean? It means you didn't think about me at all. That's not fair. It's accurate. She shook her head, frustration building. You're making this bigger than it is. I stepped closer. No, I said quietly. You just made me smaller than I am. That stopped her, completely. For a moment, she had nothing to say. And in that silence, I understood something clearly. We weren't arguing about one moment. We weren't even arguing about that night. We were facing something much deeper. Distance, disconnection, a gap that had been growing for a long time. And now, it was impossible to ignore. She looked at me again, softer this time. I don't know how to fix this, she admitted. I nodded slowly. Neither do I. That was the truth, not anger, not blame, just truth. Because something had already broken, and I wasn't sure it could be put back together. Days turned into more silence, more distance. More moments where we existed in the same space, but lived completely separate lives. She started noticing more, watching me, trying to read me. You're different, she said one night. I shrugged. People change. Not like this. I looked at her. Maybe they do. She hesitated. Are you thinking about leaving? The question hung in the air, heavy, real. I didn't answer right away. Because the truth was, I had already started leaving. Not physically, not yet, but emotionally, piece by piece, day by day. I don't know, I said finally. And for the first time, those words didn't belong to her. They belonged to me, but they felt different, stronger, clearer, because this time, I don't know, wasn't uncertainty, it was distance, and slowly. I stopped being her husband, even before I left. The truth is painful when you finally accept it. Not because it's complicated, but because it's simple. Too simple. I sat alone in the living room that night, staring at nothing, replaying everything in my head. Every moment, every word, every silence. I don't know. I let out a slow breath. That wasn't hesitation, I muttered. That was a choice. And the more I thought about it, the clearer it became. Clara wasn't embarrassed by our life. She wasn't tired of the apartment, or the routine, or the simplicity. She was embarrassed by me. The thought settled in my chest like something heavy, unavoidable, unarguable. I leaned forward, resting my elbows on my knees. Say it, I whispered to myself. Just say it. But I didn't need to, because I already knew it was true. I thought about her coworkers. The way they dressed, the way they talked, the way they carried themselves like they belonged to something bigger. And then I thought about myself, standing there in that parking lot, out of place, unnoticed, easily dismissed. I didn't fit, I said quietly, and she knew it. That's why she didn't hesitate. That's why she didn't explain. That's why she chose the easiest option. Erase me. Pretend I didn't exist. So she wouldn't have to deal with the difference. So she wouldn't have to justify me. I closed my eyes for a moment. And I let it happen, I admitted. Not just that night, but for a long time. I had ignored the signs, the distance, the small changes, The way she slowly built a life that didn't include me. I stood up and walked to the window. The city lights stretched out in front of me, bright, busy, full of movement. You changed, I said under my breath, and I stayed the same. Or maybe I just refused to see it. The door opened behind me. Clara walked in. "You're still awake?" she asked. I didn't turn around. "Yeah." She set her bag down. "We need to talk." I let out a quiet breath. "We've been talking." "No," she said. "We've been avoiding." I turned slightly, just enough to look at her. "Okay," I said. "Then talk." She hesitated for a second, then stepped closer. "This isn't working," she said. I nodded. "I know." She blinked. "That's it? What else is there to say?" She looked frustrated. "You're not even going to try." I tilted my head. "Try what?" "To fix this." I held her gaze. "Do you want to fix it?" She opened her mouth, then paused. That pause said everything. I looked away. "Yeah," I said quietly. "That's what I thought." "It's not that simple," she said quickly. "It is," I replied. "You either choose this, or you don't." She crossed her arms. "You're making it sound black and white." "Because it is." She shook her head. "You don't understand the pressure I'm under." I almost smiled. "I understand more than you think." "Then why are you acting like this?" "Because I finally see it," I said. "See what?" I looked directly at her. "You don't want this life." Her expression tightened. "That's not true." "It is," I said calmly. "You just don't want to say it out loud." She didn't respond. I took a step closer. "You don't want this apartment." Silence. "You don't want this routine." More silence. "And you don't want me." Her eyes flickered. "That's not—" "Don't," I interrupted gently. "Just don't." She stopped, because she couldn't argue with it, not honestly. I exhaled slowly. "I've been trying to hold on to something that doesn't exist anymore." "That's not fair," she said. "It's accurate." She looked away. "I've worked hard to get where I am." "I know. I can't just ignore that." "I'm not asking you to." She frowned. "Then what are you saying?" I paused for a moment, choosing my words carefully. "I'm saying you chose a life that doesn't include me." Her voice dropped. "That's not what I wanted." "Maybe not," I said, "but it's what you did." The room went quiet again, but this time, it wasn't heavy. It was clear, like everything had finally been said. She sat down slowly. "I don't know what to do," she admitted. I nodded. "I do." She looked up at me. "What?" I walked over to the table and picked up an envelope. It had arrived earlier that day. I hadn't opened it right away. I think part of me already knew what it was. "Job offer," I said, holding it up. Her brows furrowed. "Where?" "Another city." She stared at me. "You're serious?" I nodded. "Yeah." "When did this happen?" "Recently." "And you didn't tell me?" I looked at her. I wasn't sure yet. "And now?" I opened the envelope slowly, pulled out the paper, read it again, then looked back at her. "Now I am." Her expression shifted. "You're thinking of leaving?" I didn't hesitate. "Yes." The word landed between us. Final. Real. She stood up quickly. "You can't just walk away." I met her eyes. "You already did." That stopped her completely. "I didn't—" "You did," I said calmly. "Just not physically." Her voice softened. "So, that's it?" I took a deep breath. "This isn't about giving up," I said. "It's about being honest." "With me?" "With myself." She looked at me like she was seeing me for the first time. "You'd really leave everything?" she asked. I glanced around the apartment, the furniture, the walls, the memories. Then I looked back at her. "There's nothing left here for me," I said quietly. That was the truth. Not anger, not resentment, just clarity. The kind that only comes after something breaks. She didn't argue, didn't try to stop me, and maybe that was the clearest answer of all. I folded the letter and placed it back on the table. This time, I said softly, more to myself than to her, "I'm not going to stay where I don't belong." And for the first time, I didn't hesitate. I didn't confront her. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I just packed, quietly. Marcus stood by the door, watching me fold my clothes into a box. "You're really doing this?" he asked. I didn't look up. "Yeah." "That's it?" he said. No fight, no explanation? I placed another shirt inside the box. What's there to explain? Marcus walked in, shaking his head. Man, after everything, you're just walking away? I paused for a second, then said quietly, she already walked away first. The room went silent. Marcus exhaled slowly. Ugh. Damn. I kept packing. No rush, no anger, just done. Marcus leaned against the wall. You're not even going to tell her? I closed the box and taped it. She wouldn't hear it anyway. That's not the point, he said. You don't just disappear. I looked at him for the first time. Didn't she? He didn't answer, because he couldn't, because we both knew the truth. I picked up another box. Marcus grabbed it before I could. I got it, he said. Thanks. We carried the boxes out together, one by one. No music, no noise, just footsteps and silence. Half an hour later, the apartment looked empty. Not completely, but enough. Enough to feel like I was already gone. Marcus looked around. Feels weird, he said. Yeah. You really built a life here. I nodded. I did. And now? I took a slow breath. Now I'm leaving it behind. Marcus frowned. You're too calm. I almost smiled. I'm tired, I said. That's not the same thing. It is, I replied. Mike, at some point you stop fighting, not because you don't care, but because you're exhausted. He studied me for a second. You still love her? I didn't answer immediately. Then I said, that's not the question anymore. He sighed. Then what is? Whether she ever respected me. That shut him up. We stood there for a moment. Then Marcus nodded slowly. Yeah, I get that. I walked back inside one last time. The apartment felt different now, quieter, colder, like it had already forgot me. Marcus stayed near the door. I'll wait outside, he said. All right. I nodded. He stepped out, leaving me alone for the last time. I looked around, the couch, the table, the window, so many memories. Good ones, bad ones, all of them over. I walked to the kitchen counter and picked up a pen. Mike, there was a small notepad beside it. I stared at it for a second. Then I started writing. No long message, no emotional speech, just the truth. Simple, honest, clear. Marcus knocked lightly from outside. You good? Yeah, I said. Almost done. I finished the note and placed it on the table, right where she would see it. No hiding, no drama, just there. I stepped back and looked at it one last time. Marcus opened the door slightly. You ready? I nodded. Yeah. I walked toward the door. Each step felt lighter. Not heavy, not painful, just final. I stopped at the doorway for a second. Marcus glanced at me. You okay? I looked around one last time. Yeah. You sure? I gave a small nod. I've been gone for a while now, I said quietly. This is just making it official. He didn't say anything. He just stepped aside. I placed my hand on the door, and for a brief moment, I thought about everything. The beginning, the love, the trust, the moment it all broke, and the silence that followed. Then I let out a slow breath. No more, I whispered. Marcus heard it. Good, he said. I opened the door, stepped out, and pulled it closed behind me. The sound was soft, but it felt louder than anything. Marcus picked up the last box. Let's go. I nodded. We started walking, down the hallway, away from everything. He glanced at me again. You're not even going to look back? I kept walking. No, not even once? I shook my head. What's the point? He didn't answer. Because there wasn't one. Because some doors, once they close, are meant to stay that way. We reached the exit. The night air hit my face. And cool, fresh, different. Marcus opened the car door. I placed the box inside, then paused for a second. He leaned against the car. So? What now? I looked up at the sky, then back at him. Now? I said. Now I start over. He smiled slightly. About time. I exhaled slowly, not heavy, not tired, just free. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was losing something. I felt like I was finally letting it go. Months passed, not slowly, not painfully, just steadily. I built a new life, not overnight, not perfectly, but piece by piece, day by day. A routine that belonged to me, a space that felt like mine, a version of myself that didn't feel small. I woke up without checking my phone, without wondering if someone else would decide my worth, without waiting, and that alone changed everything. "You sound different," Marcus said one afternoon. I had just stepped out of work, the city around me unfamiliar but no longer uncomfortable. "Do I?" I replied. "Yeah," he said, lighter. I leaned against the railing nearby. "Maybe I am." He was quiet for a second, then he said it. "She's been looking for you." Of course she had. I didn't react. Marcus continued. "So she asked about you again." "What did you say?" I asked calmly. "The same thing as before," he replied. "I don't know." I nodded slightly. "Good." He hesitated. "She regrets everything." Those words used to mean something once, not anymore. "I figured," I said. "You don't care?" he asked. I thought about it. Not emotionally, not painfully, just honestly. "It's not about caring," I replied. "It's about knowing." "Knowing what?" I looked out at the street, people passing by, lives moving forward without hesitation. "That it doesn't change anything." Marcus exhaled. "She's not the same anymore." "Neither am I." "That's the point," he said. I smiled faintly. "Exactly." He went quiet again, then asked softly, "You ever think about going back?" The question lingered, not heavy, not tempting, just there. "No," I said. No hesitation, no doubt, just truth. "Not even once?" he pressed. I shook my head slightly, even though he couldn't see me. "No." "Why?" I took a slow breath. Because the answer wasn't complicated. It never was. Because I already know something she doesn't. Marcus didn't interrupt. He waited, so I said it. The man she lost that night was never coming back. Silence followed, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was understood. "I get that," Marcus said quietly. I pushed myself off the railing and started walking. "So, what is she doing now?" I asked. "Trying," he said. "Trying what?" "To fix it." I let out a small breath. You can't fix something that doesn't exist anymore. I told her that. And she didn't want to hear it. Of course she didn't, because acceptance is harder than regret. "I don't hate her," I said after a moment. "I know. I don't even feel angry anymore." "That's new." "Yeah," I replied. "It is. Because anger fades, pain fades, but clarity, that stays." "She said she wants to see you," Marcus added. I stopped walking for a second. "Why?" "I don't know," he admitted. "Closure, maybe?" I resumed walking. She already had her moment. "What do you mean?" I glanced up at the sky briefly. "The last time she saw me." Marcus didn't speak, so I continued. "She made a choice. And now? Now she has to live with it." He sighed softly. "That's harsh." "It's real. Because the truth is simple. Love doesn't end in one moment. It doesn't disappear instantly. It fades. It weakens. It struggles to hold on. But respect? Respect ends immediately. The moment you choose to erase someone. The moment you decide they don't belong in your world. The moment you say, "I don't know." That's when it's over. Everything else just follows. "She still talks about you," Marcus said. I didn't respond. "What do you want me to tell her?" he asked. I thought about it for a moment. Then I answered simply, "Nothing." "That's it?" "That's it." Because there was nothing left to say. No explanation, no closure, no second chance, just silence. The same silence she gave me. We ended the call shortly after. I slipped my phone back into my pocket and kept walking. The city around me felt alive, familiar, even though it wasn't. And for the first time, I felt like I belonged. Not because someone else accepted me, but because I accepted myself. I stopped at a crosswalk, waiting for the light to change. A couple stood nearby, laughing softly. For a brief moment, I thought about the past, about her, about us. Then I let it go, because it didn't matter anymore. The last time she saw me, she pretended I didn't exist. She looked past me like I was nothing, like I was invisible, and maybe That was the moment everything truly ended. Not when I left, not when the silence began, but right there, in that single decision. So I made sure. That became her reality. I walked forward as the light turned green. No hesitation, no looking back. Because some things don't deserve a second moment, and some people